Let's start with Mark, because let's face it, he didn't have a hope in hell. You couldn't fault the boy's commitment though. At the first sight of wind, he called me and came down to the south coast.
Not being around all the guys, I haven't really, first few weeks I just was glad not to be thinking about it anymore. I've just started getting back into sort of feeling that I really want to do this and trying to visualise doing the move again. So.
But a major bonus is that he's bought a 69-litre waveboard. He has the tools, but sadly is still a bit short on the skills. It turns out that this is actually the first time he windsurfed in breaking waves. He is way out of his comfort zone. Each wave is not so much a juicy ramp as a slavering yellow-toothed monster, so loops were the furthest thing from his mind. But fair play to him. As the tide pushes and conditions get lumpier and harder, he sticks at it, gets better. But I'm not sure he'd call it enjoyable.
Yeah. I don't think I ever felt happy out there, but I just thought, well, I'm here, I might as well give this girl one a go. But to be honest, that was a mission.
Low tide the next morning and the scene is altogether more inviting. There's sunshine for a start, no shore break, silky smooth water near the beach, leading into 1 to 2 foot stunt ramps. With his mind free, Mark has no hesitation in pulling the trigger. Again, and again, and again. He's pulling hard enough to get the sail all the way round, but he just isn't leaving the water at all. And sometimes you need someone to tell you that although you feel like you're 10 feet in the air, you're in fact at sea level. He really now needs to focus on speed and height, and then the rotation will take care of itself. That's better. But you can't help noticing that the moment he thinks about looping, he instinctively heads up to wash off even more speed, which reveals that he's really not that comfortable with the whole idea. Or that he's absolutely knackered. But having said that, these 2 days have seen a meteoric improvement. Oh yes, and I forgot to say, I lent him a rig. Big mistake.
I think definitely, because in Fuerte all we did was try loops on flat water. Really brought home the fact that you need to be confident on your jumps, you need to be really confident sailing in waves and being able to read which ones are good ramps and which ones aren't. But I feel like I've learned so much the last 3 days. I'm definitely another few steps closer to doing it.
I think we're on about part 5 of the loop challenge now, and we're heading towards Anglesey and Rossniger, the capital of wave sailing in the northwest. We've got an amazing forecast, 40 knots for today, maybe 45 this afternoon, dropping to 20 tomorrow. We've got a fair number of the group coming. We've got Adam, Janine, Mark, David maybe this afternoon, and we've got Nettie, although we've got some news about Nettie, more about that later. And I think we could easily get a result, because they're going to be waves. When you get wind here, you always get waves, so... Oh, bloody hell.
The wind is the prevailing southwesterly, which is a good bit more side shore than at the Witterings. It's also from the left, which I happen to know suits most of the team, including Mark. But it's howling. And being an Atlantic beach, it doesn't take long before the swell builds, and Mark finds himself in it once again, way above his head. These are by far the biggest waves he's ever been in, and he slips straight back into the womb, freezing in the face of rollers and doing his utmost to slow down and not get any jumps, let alone loops. But he's not alone, and even experienced sea sailors like Adam and David were struggling to tame the conditions, and were often just too high and too overpowered to even consider a forward. But you can't keep old Nozzer down, and by the afternoon he was at least getting out. And by the next day was lifting his heels into some decent jumps and bearing away. He's got a good position over the board and is at least properly ready to pull the trigger. It is amazing progress. As we gather for the post-mortem, it's clear the penny is definitely dropping.
Mark, can't believe 2 months how you've changed, but now rather than going for loops underwater, which was it looked like before, what's the big difference now?
Next step is just to do the jump before the loop instead of trying to start the loop halfway up the wave. Just wait till I'm in the air.
Determination drove Nozza to extend his already monstrous student loan and join me the following winter in the Caribbean windsurfing paradise of Barbados. As soon as he launched, you could tell he'd sailed his socks off in the intervening months and was starting to look like a real wave sailor. Conditions were pretty dreamy. He was still hanging back. So I took him to have a word and perhaps draw inspiration from the island's main man and manic looper, Brian Airyman Talma.
Yeah, man, the forward loop. You having a little problems with it?
Yeah, I'm taking off, I'm just not getting round.
Let me tell you, the key for it, you're in Barbados, so what you want to do is you want to really veer off the wind. Sometimes you think you're not downwind, but you really want to veer off it. Second thing, you want to find a nice sloping wave with a nice little kick so that you can jump. So what I do is I veer off wind, head downwind, my backhand on the move, far back, jump and aggressively shoot it. Make sure I'm over the equipment, shoot it aggressively downwind, and it's easy, you just fly around.
Anything else I should know?
Yeah, shut your eyes and enjoy the ride. Actually.
It did the job. The next afternoon, he launched fully planing into what you'd say was his first real, proper attempt. That's to say one where he actively sought speed by bearing away and where he started the loop in the air. OK, so he crashed. But that was a good crash, and the sort of crash that signalled that he has a real one in him. I didn't see Mark again until the following spring when we met at the spectacular beach of Llangennith on the Gower in South Wales. James was also there. Two students pushing each other can be a violent combination, and that combined with a comfortable 18-knot sideshore wind and nice waves meant the omens were good. And look at old Nozza. There's a basic change in his whole demeanour. He looks happy in his surroundings to the point where he's actively pumping and bearing away towards waves. And 30 seconds later, he dips into his first attempt. Almost.
Nozza, you were about 20 feet in the air. What went wrong? you just sheeted out, you great wuss.
It broke as I hit it.
Oh yeah, but you were there. You were just perfectly placed.
I wasn't.
Let's have a look at the cojones. Are they shrunk?
It's a taunt that spurred him on.
Oh, Noz.
Now these are real attempts off waves in the air. This is the nearest.
Oh!
It's so nearly a kill. If he can sort just two things out, he's going to be round. He's heading up on takeoff and initiating the loop too close to the wind, and with no power on the sail, he just flops over the nose. This is a much better downwind approach in takeoff, but look at the head, eyeballing the crash site, and that stops him rotating his body back and shooting in. With time for the challenge running out, it looked as if that would be that for Mark, and then we got this through the post.